Hi, I'm Ian and welcome back to Astro Time Traveller. This is a 4-part series showing how I captured and processed the image of the Rosette Nebula. In the first 2 parts, I've already shown you how I use the ZWO ASI Air Pro in capturing the image. And now in this part, I'm going to show you how I do my initial processing using Pixinsight, the Blink tool and the SubframeSelector, and then how I use Deep Sky Stacker to actually stack the image using lights, flats, dark flats and dark files. And I'll then go back into Pixinsight to show you how I process that image through the linear stage. And that'll be the end of this part 3. Then in the final part, I will show you how I further process the image in the non-linear stage through Pixinsight, and then finally touch up the image using Photoshop. So stay tuned to show you my initial imaging processing of the Rosette Nebula. So here we are in Pixinsight. What I'm going to do first is go to the all processes script and pull down Blink. As I say, I use this as a tool to review my images. So first thing you need is to upload the images into there. So I'm just going into my data set of images, find the ones we want, have a look at the light files. Only want the fit files for this, so you just select all of those, and then this will then bring them into Blink. Blink's a really good tool to be able to look at the images, and in particular make sure the stars look round, or see if there's any anomalies from actually taking the picture, such as satellite trails or aircraft, etc. So it just takes a few seconds to upload these, and then once it's done that, we'll do another element, which is to make sure that we can see them all. So there we are, there's the Rosette Nebula. Let's just make that a little bit bigger. There we go. The first thing I usually do is click on this button here, because that will then put a histogram to all of them. A few seconds to do that. And then once that's done, the first thing I usually do is I just run through all of the images. So I go to the play button and just let it play through the images, and you can see pretty still there throughout all those images. I did use dithering, but other than the meridian flip, you can see the images are very, very static. So if I get back to the top here, just move forward. Okay, and then what I do is I kind of zoom in to look at the stars and pick a particular pattern, and then just look through each of the images to see how good the quality of the stars is. There you can see on the very second one, that's not good. So what you then do is unclick the tick box, and then you'll come back to that to put that maybe into a junk folder. So let's carry on going through these, and you can see other than that one, these all look pretty good. So I usually do 2 passes. One is looking closely at the stars, and then a broader one looking for satellite trails, etc. So I'll carry on with this, and then when I get to the end, I'll come back and show you the broader view I do. So here I am just coming to the end, looking at the individual stars. I've done the meridian flip, so you can see they've moved around a bit, and that's it. So then I'll go further out, and then I spend quite a bit more time going through this stage, just looking for any satellite trails across the whole stream. So it just takes a little while to do this, but it's definitely worth doing it. So welcome back. I've been through all of these images, and I've only found 2 that I'm going to reject. So if I go back here I'm at the beginning. So if I want to reject them, I highlight them. So I've got that one there, and I just pull this over, go down, and I've got that one there. So you just click on that as well. So number 26 and number 2. And then if you go to this icon here, you can then select where you want to put them. And what I usually do is prepare a junk file. So I'm in here, I'm in my lights and I have a junk. So if I select that file, it will then put those two into that file. So they're taken away from my normal light frames. So now I can close all of this, and then the next stage I open up is the SubframeSelector. So if I go into SubframeSelector and again add my files, so I'm going to do the same ones as we had here. So I just want all the fit frames. So let's just click on those and then let those open up. And then in here, you just want to make sure you put in the right information about your camera, etc. So I know my camera resolution is 14-bit, and my Arc Sex Pixel, you can actually use something like astronomy tools. So here I've put in my Skywatcher 72ED, I put in my camera, I'm using my reducer, and I put in the actual target I'm looking at. So it uses all of this information to give you various information down here, but in particular what I'm looking at is this 2.67 pixel per pixel. That's the information I want. There's a Rosette Nebula. So now what I'll do is I'll use that 2.67 in this element here. So we just put in 2.6 seconds, and then I'm ready to go. Click on the button down here. This takes a little while. So here we are, it's now uploaded all of those, and the first thing I use is the FWHM index. So I just click on that, and I want to do descending, because the worst ones are those at the top with the highest values, and the best ones are those at the bottom with the lowest values. So it's quite a spread here. That's interesting. So they're ranging here from 6.1 down to 4.1. So I might want to get rid of some of these very high value ones. So I just click on here to make sure I know which ones those are. And you can see the top two. So maybe I'll get rid of everything that's over the 5.5 mark. And what I do is I actually just take a note of that. So for me here, you'll see these are files number 5, 10 and 15. What I also then look at is the SNR weight. So again, both on the graph and here I want to do climbing, because on this one it's the highest value is the best, the lowest value is the worst. So they're quite close. There's not a huge difference there. Probably the only one here that strikes out is that one, which is 64. So I'll make a list of that. So far I've listed 5, 10, 15 and 64. On this one I've also got another one over there, which is number 1, and another one there. Which is there as well. So it has a weight of 8.5. So there it is, number 57. So once I've completed looking at all of those, I'm not actually going to delete anything out of that, but I'm now going to go to Deep Sky Stacker. So I'll clear these. I've made a note of the ones that I think could be problems. And if I go across to Deep Sky Stacker, what I then do is I upload the same pictures. So let's go into those pictures, the images from the 18th, into the lights, we're fits only. And then if we click on the fits, we upload all of those. And then first thing we want to do is kind of click them all, and we just want to have a look at, so on this screen, we don't want to stack them, we just really want to register them. We also want to see how many stars we've got in the field of view, so 700, probably too many. I'll bring that, let's see what happens with 10%. You don't want a huge number of stars showing up here. 205 is about good. So we can now click on OK, and it will just register these 68 frames having got rid of a couple already. And then what this will then tell us is it will give us a score down here that we can then also use to decide on if there's any frames we want to exclude. So again, I'll come back when this is finished registering. So here we are back, just completing the registration of the 68 frames. It's just finishing that off now, and there we are. And then if you look down here at the score, I've actually got the score in numerical order. So the worst frame is down the bottom and the top frame's at the top. So what I can do is just have a look at those, and I can see, according to this, the worst frame is, and you can see these ones in particular, 63 and 64 probably definitely need to come out because they're far lower than the rest. So actually on the rest, they don't look too bad. The higher the score number, the better the picture. The lower the score number, the worse it is. So I'm actually happy with those generally. So as this is the best scoring one, what I can do is right click on this and put that as use my reference frame. So now I'm done with those. So I'll just go right down the bottom here. I think I'll get rid of actually these last 3 frames. So all we need to do is remove from the list, remove from the list, and remove from the list. And then I can add in the rest of my calibration frames. So first I'll go to my flat frames. So again, I just want to get to the right ones. So let me just pick this up. And again, I just want my fits. So we just pick fits. These were taken, these are the short frames to take out dust things, and I do dark flats, which are exactly the same as the flats, but with the cover on the telescope, same length, and dark flats, there we go. And again, just want the fit files, so if I go to all of those, and then finally my dark files. So I often use master darks, but on this occasion I actually did take a set of dark images for this. So here they are, and again let's just put them as fits. Right, so now we can over here check all. So if we just look at here, we've got 65 light frames, I've got 25 dark frames, 60 flat frames, and 60 dark flat frames. I don't have any bias or offset. So now if we go into actually registering them, now we want to stack after imaging. We don't want to register because we've already registered some of them. We know the stars come out about just over 200 when we're using it 10%. But if we go back to the stacking parameters, I'm going to actually use drizzle on this because you get a better definition. But you can see I'm using standard mode for each of these, the Kappa Sigma clipping for both the light, for the dark, and for the flat. Those are the only things I really concentrate on. The rest is pretty much left as it comes, standard. And then I'm going to have an output file. So let's do 2 times drizzle, and this will take a bit longer to do that, but you'll get a better resolution on the stars. So let's click on that and it will start processing. Oh, the only thing I should say, on this page you've got how many you want to select, so it will actually also get rid of 5% of the worst files. You can change that number to whatever you like. I usually use around 90 to 95%. It finally tells you if you've got everything. If everything is blue here, then you're in a good position. It says we've got 3¼ hours of actual exposure time, and then if that is all blue, you're ready to go. If there's anything that's highlighted, you might want to review it and just change it. But we're all good to go, so let's click on go. And then I'll come back once this gets to the end of the process. So here we are, just getting to the end of the stacking of the files, and once it's got to that, it'll be ready to actually start putting that all together, computing the final picture. So it does take a few seconds to do this, so I'll come back when that's concluded. Because it's drizzle, obviously it's a lot more information, so it just takes a little bit longer to process everything than if it wasn't drizzled at all. And now it will start loading the final image, and that will come up on the screen. Just takes a few seconds, and here we go. And there you can start seeing the star field, the star pattern coming out. It will auto save this, which is great. But what I then also do is I save a TIFF version of this. So once it's completed saving it across the page, then I go to save picture over here, left click, sorry, and then I keep everything in a order on my different targets. So 2244 for the Rosette Nebula. So I click into there, and then I'll just call it Rosette Nebula 18th 02 21. Put a D in for drizzled. Leave it at 16 bits and save. Then it will save that. Okay, so then what I normally then do is go back into the file where I worked everything from, and what I'll find there is that I'll have a TIFF file there, auto saved. I'll just change the name of that to Rosette Nebula, and I'll just put in the date, which was the 18th of the 2nd 2021, and now we're ready. So now from there we go back to Pixinsight, so we can close that. So we go into Pixinsight. First thing we can do is load up that image. So if we go to the lights where that was held, go down, and there it is, what we just named. So open that into Pixinsight, and then as soon as you've done that, the first thing we do is just stretch it so we can see what we look like on the image. And there we go. So very green, but that's to be expected. But you can see the Rosette Nebula there in the center. So what I'll now do is take you through the processes I go through for processing this in the linear format. So the first thing I do is I load in my processes. So I have a preset. So if I just load that up, there we go. And you can see on my preset, effectively I have all down the left-hand side my linear processes, and down on the right-hand side what I'll do for non-linear. So here, for example, when you're first looking at the image, the first thing you probably want to do is do a dynamic crop, but you could also do a channel extraction, a linear fit, and a channel combination to get everything back into a close alignment between the red, green and blue channels. Or alternatively, you can use dynamic background extraction or automatic background extraction. Today I'm going to use DBE, and I'll show you how I do that. Then you can use the background neutralization and the color calibration and the photometric color calibration, all to try and get the colors, and particularly the background, as best it can be and as natural as it can be. And then once you've done that, you're probably down into using a bit of noise reduction through multi-scale linear transformation. And over here I have some presets of those, so I'll show you how I use those. And then finally you're ready to then probably use the histogram transformation to create the non-linear version. So let's start off on this one. I'm going to do, first one, let's zoom in and just have a look at the edges. So pretty clean on that side, pretty clean on that side, actually pretty clean all round, as you can see. So star movements a little bit in the corners, but that's okay. So I don't really want to do much dynamic crop, but let's click on that and just let's use a little bit. So I'll just bring it in a touch on each area just to make sure there's no problems with any artifacts as from the stacking. So you do all that and then you press the green button and you've got that done. And then what I'm going to use is dynamic background extraction, but I have one I've already created, so I'll use this one. So if I load that up, there it is. And the key things here, I've got my under model preferences parameters, I've got tolerance set at 0.2 and shadows relaxation at 6. So those are changes from the standard. And then on the target, I'm going to actually do, to start with, I'm going to do a division and then I'm going to do a subtraction. But I discard the original model and replace the target. But the important thing is coming to the generation. So here we've got a lot of stars. So I'm probably going to want a fairly small radius. So I'm going to call it 25. I'll leave it at 15. Yeah, I'll leave it at 15. So then just generate, and you get all of these dots across the image. Now what I want to do is only leave the ones on the outside. So what I'm going to do is get rid of all of the ones in the middle. So I'll just start that process off. So there we are, I've got rid of all of those on the inside. Now on the outside, I want to look at these more closely. So I'll zoom in and zoom right in, because I don't want any stars really in any of these squares. So I'll review by going around the whole of the image. So there's one a little bit too close, so I'll just move him so he's not in there. So I go down, and where I see something in the box, I just move it so I don't have anything in at all. So I'll come back when I've completed this and show you what it looks. Here's one I don't think I can really find to move, so I'm just going to delete it. You don't need ones in every single area, but okay, I'll come back when I've done all of this. So I've been all the way around now, so let's just zoom back out. So I'm all ready, I've got everything selected on the outside with no stars in any of those boxes. What I'm going to do is just make a copy of this, because I'm going to do not only division, I'm going to do subtraction. So I just put that over there. It will retain everything here for when I want to do that. So now I just click on the tick box, and it will, it's quite a large scale. Close that down, and then just take it back to unstretched and then stretched. And there we can see for the first time a really good starting image of the Rosette Nebula. So if we then click on what we saved, we can go down here, change that to subtraction, and then again we can click on the green tick, just make sure we're highlighted, and away we go. We will then have subtraction on this one. Background extraction. There we go. So that's that done. Close all of that. So now the next stage, and what I tend to do, what you can do is you can save all of this by making it a project. So if we went to save project, we can save it into my file here. So we quickly do that into my N2244, there it is, and we'll call it Rosette #1. And then that's it. It will then save everything as I work through this, so that if I want to come back and redo it at some stage, it will have all my presets. So it'll take a few seconds to save what we've done so far. So again, I'll come back when that's concluded. Okay, that's now concluded. So we're now starting to save everything under the project. I always think of this image the other way around. So I'm actually going to change the image geometry and go 180-degree rotate. Just takes a few seconds to do that. Okay, that's how I normally think when I look at the Rosette Nebula. Anyway, so now what we can do is background utilization and color calibration. So for this you'll need a preview. So you need to zoom in quite close and find a dark spot. So we then click up here for preview. Let's go there, a little tiny dark place. Yep. Then we come back out. If we go to background utilization, sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. So I use it depending on the results I get. So we add in that preview, don't change anything else on it, and then we're ready to go. So if we then just make sure we're highlighted, click the square, and it will then just do that background utilization. So that's made it a little bit redder, but I'm not bothered by that at the moment. So I'm going to leave that, I'll keep that in. Now, color calibration. So there's two parts to this. So again, you need a second preview, but you want it in some lighter area. So I tend to do light central areas. And then on the element over here, you use that second preview, but on the background reference, you use the first preview that we just used. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we'll put this on, and then we'll come back and see if we like it, and then we'll change some things if we don't. So yeah, that doesn't look too bad. So, but what I'm going to do is just come out of that, reverse it, then take off any preview on this one, just leave it without anything, and try it again and see what that looks like, see if that looks any different or any better. Sometimes it's very little in it, but it's good to practice and try different alternatives. And that one's probably a little bit more paler on the inside, so I'm going to keep with that one. So we're done with that. So you can use photometric color calibration. I'm not going to use it here this time, but what you would do is put in the focal length of your telescope, the pixel size of your camera, and then you can go and search coordinates. So here I've got the NGC 244 coordinates already in. So you just get those, and then you press down here to make that occur. So, but I'm not going to use it this time, so let's leave that as that. So now really the next thing I want to do is some noise reduction. So I've got some presets over here, but the first thing before I can apply that is I will want to put a mask on here. So let's get rid of the two previews because we don't need those anymore. And to create the mask, we just need to click on this button to create a luminous mask. There it is. And then use the screen transformation histogram function to stretch that. So if we click on here, stretch that image, then drag the triangle over to the histogram, then the histogram triangle back onto that image, and then take it down from being double stretched. And there we are. We have a stretched luminous that we can now apply. So let's put that on. Let's move that down to the side, and let's get rid of the two things we've just been using. So we actually want this inverted, so we'll invert the mask because we want to protect the nebula and adjust the background. So we'll show the mask, and then what you can do is you can use some example areas. So let's just pick this area, go over here. There we go. So if we go to multi-scale linear transformation, you can see I've got some presets here, and this is on the luminance element. So we can click on here and just see what that looks like. It'll load up a live real-time preview for us. So there we are. So if we look on there, it's fairly not noticeable, but it is making a little bit of difference to the luminous. So I'm happy with that. So I'm now going to go to the main image and click to proceed. It'll take a few seconds to do that. Again, I'll come back when that's concluded. So there we are, that's done. Now, that was the first one. That was on luminance. And then I've got the second one, which is on chrominance. Again, you can look at my settings here. I've experimented with these over time and they seem to work quite well. So again, I'm just going to look at that preview. I'm just going to apply this time. So let's just apply that and we can see how that comes out. Right, so there we are, done on those ones. So now finish with that one. And then lastly, we've got this one, which is going to work quite a bit across all of the areas on the RGB. So again, if we just look at what we've highlighted and do the real-time preview. So here we are, let's just move that over so we can see that a bit more clearly. So that's it, post, before, after, before, after. Yeah, it's definitely smoothing out. You might not be able to see it, but it's definitely smoothing out. So I'm happy with that. So go back to the main image and we'll click on that. And I'll come back when that's concluded. So here we are, we've now concluded that. So that's the image, and if you look in pretty close, it's looking pretty good. That's pretty smooth, I think. If I look around, particularly the nebulosity is looking very smooth indeed. I like that. So we're now pretty much ready to stretch this image. So we finished with multi-scale transformation, so let's come out of that. We finished with the mask, so we can remove the mask, and we finished with the preview, so we can delete the preview. So now we're going to stretch this. So we can stretch two ways. So first off, we need to unstretch, and then I'll show you the first way, which I don't use anymore. I used to use it, but I don't now, which is using the screen transfer, then move that over to the histogram, and then unstretching it again, and then copying that across. And as you can see, that gets you pretty close to what you've just seen. So that looks good. But if you then look on the histogram, and we go to the actual image we're looking at, well, in this case, actually, it's done pretty well. So there isn't any clipping. So actually, I'm pretty happy with that. So I might use that. But what I'm going to do is just come back out of that and go back to pre-linear. And instead of just using that, I'm going to use just the histogram transformation. So bring up a real-time preview and then stretch the image this way. So bring that all the way across. Use the top to move it a bit more. Further across. Okay, see if there's any on the dark side to move. Can move it a bit. There we go. I'm starting to clip, so I don't really want to clip. If you look at shadows, see those numbers moving. You really want to have nothing clipped down there. So there we go. But on here, I can bring up the lightness a little bit more. A little bit more. Probably, yeah, probably about there. I'm happy with. Trying to get the top graph crossing over between the two. Yep, so about there. So close that down. And there we go. That is our stretched image. So close that. So that will conclude this part. Stay tuned and come back to part 4, where I'm going to move into the non-linear section, where I'm going to be using a lot of masks to further improve the noise and to bring out more of the nebulosity, and then using curves to bring out some of the colours, etc. So stay tuned and come back to part 4 for the finalisation of the Rosette Nebula image.